Good afternoon. Welcome to the Southeast of Saline Candidate Forum for 2015. Jerry's been around for a long time, run for the school board a number of times, and says this is the first time he can ever remember that we've had a candidate forum. And that's a good thing, because that means we have a lot of interest in our school and the issues that are facing us, and we have wonderfully qualified candidates. And even though our audience is small, the communications class is videotaping, and the videotape will be on the school's website and probably on the the journal website. Sorry, Tim. You might notice that most, if not all, of the current school board members are here. We've thoroughly researched that. This is not a school board meeting, and as long as we don't have school discussions among ourselves or take any action, it is not a violation of the Open Meetings Act. So, to the candidates, I want to say thank you for running. I've done it. It takes courage. It takes time. It takes hundreds of hours to serve on the school board, and it's your contribution to the community. You won't get paid a cent. Sometimes you won't feel appreciated. Sometimes you'll feel attacked, but the work that you do makes a difference in our community, and most particularly in the lives of children. So thank you. The past 12 months have been a somewhat stressful time for our community. Due to the bond issue, long-term friendships and associations have been bruised and in some cases broken. I'm urging all of us to start setting that aside today and begin a new time of respect and kindness. The purpose for today is for us to have the opportunity to hear from each candidate so that you can decide who best represents you. If you've already made up your mind who you're voting for, you might want to spend your afternoon somewhere else. This isn't a pep rally for your chosen candidate or candidates. This is an opportunity for these people to tell you what their values are and for you to make your decisions about who you think will stand up for the things that you hold dear. So I would ask you, if you feel like applauding at any point, please save that to the end and applaud all candidates. It does take courage to run for office and to sit here at this table and share their values with you. I will ask the candidates to stand in the hallway at the end of the forum so that you may ask additional questions. And I understand that there's a table with cookies, so that'll be worthwhile. The ground rules for today. Each candidate will have 2 minutes for opening remarks. Board Clerk Stephanie Hettenbach will be timing. Candidates, you need to keep one eye on Stephanie. I think you all know Stephanie here on the front row. She will give you a 30-second warning, and then she will give you a stop sign. If you're in the middle of the sentence, when the stop sign comes up, you may finish your sentence. But if you start into sentence number 2 after the stop sign comes up, I will try to politely interrupt you. You do not have to use all of the time allowed. If you've said everything you want to say in your 1 minute or 2 minutes, you can stop. We will rotate so that the same person doesn't get the question first every time. So if I forget, you might have to help remind me that you missed your turn to be first. We will begin with 3 general questions, and they're questions that are general questions that sort of need to be answered by all of you. And I will tell you whether they're a 1-minute question or a 2-minute question before you begin to answer those. We've given you a piece of paper, so if you want to jot down notes, if you're not the first one to talk, you can jot down notes about what you might want to say. After the 3 questions that I will offer, we will have questions from the crowd, from the patrons, and there were little note cards that out front, so you can write down your questions so that the things you want to know about, you can ask. Charisse and Lori will be walking in the aisles, collecting cards, so if you have your card and you have your question written down, you can hold it up at any time. We will try to consolidate the questions so that we don't have 3 questions about some subject, but we want to try to cover the things that are of interest to you. All of those will be 1-minute answers, so you don't want to ask a question about the theory of relativity or something. And all questions will be asked of all candidates. So the questions that you write, you cannot direct to a specific candidate. Each candidate will have an opportunity to answer. Questions? Let's go. Okay, first question, and Justin, we'll start on this end since you're closest to me. What motivated you to become a board member, and what skills do you have that qualify you to be a board member? This is a 1-minute opening statements. Sorry. Opening statements.
Oh.
We'll start with you. 2 minutes, opening statement.
Do you want us just to stay here and speak
Yes,
loud?
please.
Okay.
Someone give me a signal if you're not hearing.
Can everybody hear okay? I'll try to speak up a little bit. I've had a little sinus, so my right ear has been a little clogged. My wife keeps telling me you're talking too loud, so. But can you all hear in the back okay? Okay. Well, thank you all for coming. I'm Justin Knopf. I live in this community, grew up here. Am honored to have gone here, attended school here from kindergarten until graduating. And I now am back in the community, have been for 7 years, and I farm with my family. My wife Lindsay and I have 2 young children. Charlotte is a 1st grader here, and then our son Andrew is 4. So this sounds like we'll talk about why we're running for school board perhaps throughout this, but I won't get into that as much. But my background has very much been tied to this community and tied to this school, and the foundation I received educationally at this school and the experience from the faculty and the patrons of my community was very important to me, and increasingly so as I get older, I can recognize that. And so I have interest in seeing that play out for my children as well, even more so than how it did for me. Education is incredibly complex. I'm a farmer, and so I'm very comfortable talking about plants and soil, and most comfortable in the field or driving a tractor. So being up here and answering questions about education, which I'm not an expert at, is uncomfortable. And I can guarantee you that I won't have excellent answers for every question that of course will come up today, because I'm sure many of the questions will be very complex. What I can guarantee you today is 3 things. That I'll put students first, try to understand their needs and put their needs first, and pay attention to that first and foremost. Number 2, listen, and listen humbly. Listen with a sense of humility. Listen to students, staff, administrators, and patrons, and be available for your input. Stop. I'll get to the 3rd thing later.
My name is Brandon Hughes. My wife and I moved to Salina 14 years ago, and when we were deciding where to send our child to school, we did our due diligence and looked at all the communities around, and hands down, southeast of Saline was just the best opportunity for our child. As our kids grew, we learned to love the community and the teachers. And hands down, I tend to believe we have the best teachers out there. I believe they give their all to these kids, and I believe the administrators try to give them every effort or everything they need to give the best effort to the kids. You know, I have Harbin Construction. My wife and I own a general contracting firm in Salina. I probably haven't been as dedicated to understanding the ins and outs of the school, and I believe that's why I'm running for the school board. I have several disagreements that I think I'd like to find out the what's and whys about. But I'm here to be on board because I believe in this school, I believe in the teachers, and I believe that we have the best opportunity to make a difference in our kids' lives.
Jerry?
Thank you. I'm Jerry Syme, and I'm a current board member. My daughter, grandson graduated from this school, and my granddaughter is currently attending. I love this community. I love the school and the family environment that it presents. A lot of you may not know me very well, so I want to take a few minutes to go over my background, kind of give you an idea of how I got into education. I retired in 1992 with 24 years in the active Army Reserve and Guard. Most of us been in training and leadership positions. I retired in 2005 as the director of Salina Area Technical School, where I spent 17 years as a teacher in electronic technology. I was the assistant director and director for 4 years, and then Dr. Norris asked me to fill in for the directorship to fill in for the director who had left unexpectedly. I took care of Cloud County classes at the Tech College. I have a unique background from the standpoint I started teaching without any college hours, and I picked up a bachelor's degree from Pittsburgh State and a master's from Kansas State University and a graduate in EDS and Specialist Technology from Pittsburgh State, all in nights and weekends. So I understand education. I understand what it takes to get there, and I'm looking forward to working with the school in some form. Thank you.
I'm Ryan Comerford. Thank you, Kara, for moderating today, and all of you to coming out today and being told I cannot be heard, so I'll try to speak up a little bit. Again, my name is Ryan Comerford. I'm the youngest of 4, and I graduated from Southeast Saline as well as all 3 of my siblings. After graduating in Southeast, I finished up my collegiate career academics at Kansas State University with a finance degree. Shortly after graduating college, I was lucky enough to get a job right at college with Central National Bank, where I'm at today, serving as a financial analyst. Some of my responsibilities there at the bank include managing a $400 million bond portfolio, taking responsibility for the bank's liquidity, managing interest rate risk, and a lot of other stuff that would bore you out here today. I also play an intricate role in developing the bank's overall budget from year to year. A little bit about myself personally. I married my wife, Amy, about 13 years ago. She is from this area as well. She graduated from southeast of Saline. We have 2 children, 2 beautiful daughters, ages 10 and 8. They're 4th grade and 2nd grade that come out here as well. To me, those are very 2 good reasons of running for school board, along with the rest of the student population. Much like Justin, I'll claim that I'm just a banker and I don't know much about education. And from what I understand, the education comes if you're lucky enough to get elected as a school board member. So I look forward to that challenge, and I appreciate you all coming out today.
Dwight?
I'm Dwight Conley. I also graduated from Southeast of Saline in 1984. Upon graduation, I attended Kansas State University, where I got an agribusiness degree, and I took a lot of marketing classes. Once once I was out of college, I came back to this area because I wanted to be involved in agriculture, and I thought this was a wonderful place to raise children. So when I came back, I landed a job as a service coordinator for Great Plains Manufacturing, and I spent 17 years speaking to people that at times were not happy with what was happening and trying to figure out a great way to work together to create a solution. And so those type of problem-solving skills are invaluable to me. Southeast did so much for me. I spent tons of time on this stage developing my whole personality and being able to speak to people and being able to listen and learn. I am married to a third grade teacher, so I hear a lot about all of the things that are happening in education today, and it becomes a great asset to me. My daughter is also a teacher. My father was president of the school board when this building was designed. So education in our family has been something that has been extremely important. And if I'm successful, I hope to carry those things forward, listen, bring the community back together so we can make this school the best it can possibly be. Thank you.
I'm Linda Sauer, and I'm originally from Illinois. My husband Phil and I moved here 14 years ago. Our son Sam has always attended southeast of Saline, and hopefully will graduate next year. I'm currently a realtor in the area. I work for SalinaHomes.com. I've done that for 7 years. I currently sit on the board of realtors, so I am open-minded and am able to take all information in and evaluate from that. And I think that is something that everybody needs to do when they sit on a board. I also believe in education. I attended the Southern Illinois University of Edwardsville, and as a realtor, I still continue to do education. I feel it's very important. Thank you.
Kenny?
My name's Kenny Costigan. My wife Eve and I live in Minner. We go to the Minner United Methodist Church. We have one daughter, Samantha. She started out here in first grade. She graduated in 2013. I have a bachelor's degree in business administration from Marymount College. In the last few years, I've been pretty active out here at the school doing many different things. One thing, when our daughter was in grade school, if you've never helped the Parents Club or never been to a kid's party in a grade school class, every father should do that at least once. That's an experience. And then as she got a little older, I was in the Booster Club for over 6 years as either the vice president or the president. And during that time, we raised tens of thousands of dollars that all went back into the school to help different things. Also coached softball for 4 years with Mr. Edwards. I'm not doing it this year. There was a conflict with my work. But that is an experience also, being able to watch those girls grow and become more confident. Because of those experiences, I've had the ability to work with and talk to the staff and the faculty, the athletic director, the other coaches, and the kids out here. And I just love working with the kids, so I've spent a lot of time out here doing that. That's one of my motivations. Now my daughter's kind of moving off on her own, but I still want to be involved with the district. So that's why I'm running for school board.
Thank you. Okay, now the first question that I already told you. And we'll start with you, Brandon. I'll repeat the question.
Thank you.
What motivated you to become a board member, and what skills do you have that qualify you to be a school board member? You get 1 minute.
Well, I guess motivating me to become a school board member came from several people who I greatly respect and asked me to consider running for the school board. They obviously thought I could bring value to the school board and to the school overall. I prayed diligently on that. I found nothing to keep me from it. So I decided to run. What qualifies me? I'm a caring parent. I believe highly for the education of our children, and I want to give them the best opportunities, like I said. So I have my own business. While they're farther from education than not, I believe they bring a lot of similarities. Owning your own business and helping to run a board and to give positive guidance to the administrators, I think will be valuable.
Okay, thank you. Jerry?
I think the biggest reason that I'm motivated to run is because of community service and love for this community. As far as attributes that I think qualify me for being a board member, as director of the tech school, I took care of, was responsible for a $3 million budget. I had over a $7 million new facility project going on. And again, I'm retired and have enough time to put in to this time-intensive position.
Thanks, Jerry. Okay, Ryan?
Yeah, and to answer that question, I think I touched on a few points in my opening comments. I think two of the biggest reasons is my daughters. You know, I want to be a part of them as they carry on through Southeast of Saline. You know, I feel confident that with a group effort we can do that and move forward where we are today. As I mentioned, my job, I manage a $400 million bond portfolio, manage the liquidity, and play an intricate role in the budget, which I think is very important, to carry that over into a school board member. I wrote down some traits that I think is very important, which I firmly believe that I have, and I'll kind of read these off here. One of the traits I have is to be able to understand the forces of societal change and plan for the future. Two is be tolerant and respect diverse points of view. And the third would be responsive to the needs of individuals, and I believe I have those.
Okay, thank you. Dwight? If you need, anybody needs a question repeated, just say so. But
What motivated you in the special skills, right?
Brett?
What motivated me to run for the school board was I began attending school board meetings about 1.5 years ago, and I started to realize that I wanted to become more involved, and maybe when my children were out here at Southeast, I should have probably been even more involved than I was. At times you get wrapped up in what your kid is doing on the football field or the softball field, and you don't realize how important it is for everybody behind the scenes. I feel like now my special skill is I look at the totality of what made the difference in my child's life. I look back now and it's very clear to me what was so important in this education at Southeast of Saline. And so that is why I'm running, because I want to expound on that, and I want to have this school become more and more valuable and respected.
All right. I would like to be a member of the school board because I believe in the betterment at school and a good education. I think that helps everyone exceed in life. And the reason I became involved is because I have a child that's getting ready to go to higher education. And if I don't believe in that, then how can I help support him? As far as my skills, I have a finance background. I also have sat on many boards before and very open-minded. And I have the ability to see the big picture, the big plan, look into the future. And as we all know, Southeast of Saline does need to make improvements out here. It's just what improvements are those? And I would like to be a part of that improvement.
Go ahead, Kenny.
Part of what motivates me to be on the board is over the last few years coaching, I was able to touch the lives of a small group of kids out here. And now with my daughter gone, and I want to be able to touch the lives of a larger group and be able to have a positive influence on our whole district. Another motivation is my wife works for the state of Kansas. She works for the Department of Children and Family Services. So I listen to her, and I listen to what skills a lot of our people coming out are missing and what they need to improve on at this age. What happens between from kindergarten through 12th grade has a great impact on their lives. And what they do in the future is often impacted by what happens here. So I'd like to be an influence on these things so I can better their lives later on.
Okay, thank you. Back to you, Justin.
Yeah, so two things. One, the school is very central to our community, as a school is central to any community. So that's important. Number two, being a parent, you realize very quickly that long-lasting impact how you raise your kids and the time you spend with them and what you train them to do will have for in many ways that we'll never understand or know or comprehend. And the school is similar to that. And so those two things made me feel obligated and led to get involved with the school board, because leadership on the Board of Education is fundamental. Skills, number one, I would say would be listening, and listening with humility, open to new ideas and having input and learning. And number two would be seeking out solutions and building consensus around practical, common sense solutions.
Okay, thank you. The next question is a 2-minute question. Choose one of the following current education topics that are in the news. One of these: school funding, the Professional Negotiations Act, career and technical education, early childhood education, college and career-ready standards, next generation science standards, and share your views on one of those topics. Want them again?
Yes, please.
Okay. School funding, the Professional Negotiations Act, career and tech ed, early childhood education, college and career ready standards, the next generation science standards. And just because you answer one here, it doesn't mean it might not come up again later with questions from the audience. And so Jerry, you're our beginning.
Okay, thank you. I will take school funding right off the bat. To me, that's very important. And schools do not operate unless they have the cash flow to do so. Recently, Governor Brambach signed into effect the block grant to fund schools. There seems to be now the uncertainty of whether the courts will come in as of May the 7th and make a ruling that will either nullify or to support that. What that means is the boards are going to be faced with making decisions that have to be made because of timelines to notify faculty, timelines for planning of re-enrollment of students for next fall, to change programs and adjust accordingly. It is a problem of trying to shoot a moving target when you're not even sure the gun is loaded. So what it amounts to is that there's some real challenges coming up. I know in our district we're already looking at contingency plans, and the last but not least, the state has not been real good about funding the existing formula, let alone trying to fund the block grant. So that is my biggest concern in education right now as a board member and a future board member.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll probably pick school funding as well. I've spoken to an assistant superintendent of another school district. I've spoken to former school board members of another school district. And I've spoken to a president of the board right now as well at another school district. And when it comes to to school funding issues. For a school board member that is running for a school board, the real education comes when you do get on the school board. I can reiterate what Jerry just said about our governor recently signing into a bill where it basically freezes our funding for the next 2 years. I think there's a lot of pros to that from some of the folks are saying, and there's a lot of cons to it. So I think that's going to be a big issue going forward, and I think it's one of those instances where all of us up here today are going to have to come together and fight the issue and try to come up with a solution that's going to better our district. The budgeting issue or the school funding issue, it's basically, it can change frequently, as we can see it here. It's changed here in the last couple of weeks. It may change in a couple of years. As I mentioned, the budgeting process is something that we're going to have to build on and move forward, and I hope we can get along and do that.
Okay, thank you. Dwight?
Well, I guess it's a little bit hard to choose one because all are so important to the makeup of the school, from standards to school funding. But again, when we can't be experts on everything as candidates, and probably what we can speak to the most is school funding and budgets. It is problematic, or it is concerning what is happening as far as school funding on the state level. I'm not sure exactly why the block grant was chosen. Obviously, they had their reasons. The good news is that in the last year, the state has sharply increased our funding, several $100,000 as far as LOB assistance. We have also taken it upon ourselves to increase the funding on a local level to also allow us to have more money to do what we need to, which it is for the kids, and we need to make sure that we take care of that. Everything we do needs to be focused on the students. So moving forward, we give ourselves a pretty good position even if we are faced with block grants. I'm not saying that I like what they've done. So, but freezing the funding may not be as bad as we think at this point. The other thing to remember is my hope is they will sit down in Topeka, they will get this worked out, because we want to remember those legislatures and everyone else has kids and grandkids also. So moving forward with the budget, we need to be careful, but I think in the end, we will find a way to find an equitable solution to fund our schools and also to provide education for these students.
Thank you. Linda?
I'm going to choose something different. Everybody else went with school funding. I'm going to go with early childhood education. I think it's very important that we start early with our children. When I first started going to school, you didn't even have to know your numbers, your ABCs, know how to tie your shoes. Kids today, when they get there, they already know how to do all of those things, and a lot of them are reading by the time that they're in kindergarten. And I think that's a very good program. I think it's great that we have full-day kindergarten, and I think the younger that we get the children and start educating them, then the better their careers can go when they leave school.
Kenny?
I'll stick with kind of the common theme, I guess. One of the pressing needs right now is the funding issues. For our district, we're probably in kind of an enviable position where we're not projected to grow, so the block grants may not kill us necessarily in the next couple of years. It will make things tight. Tight can be good if we look around and see what we have and what we can work with. But what that's going to do is, with a new superintendent coming in, that's going to make the budgeting process more difficult for them to try to understand what's happening. We're also in a position, as our board has done a great job, we have cash reserves that other districts don't necessarily have at times. Now, we're not sitting on great amounts of money like some people are led to believe when you read the paper. We're sitting on enough to handle our month-to-month business, and that's about it. So, in the future, I think we're going to have to watch the funding, we're going to have to watch our budgets, and we'll have to do what's right for our patrons and for the school, for the kids.
Thank you, Ken. Justin?
So yeah, there's some excellent comments on school funding, so I'm going to pick the career and technical education. Our school boards after attending meetings and going to several meetings, have a lot of discussion about curriculum and how important curriculum is, and not just curriculum, but more so individualized curriculum, individualized to the student level. And that's very difficult to achieve, but an important direction to move towards. And career and technical education, in my opinion, is an increasingly important part of that curriculum. As I speak to and listen to business owners and recruiters and businesses in our community and others, they tell me, and I hear that these kids have excellent technological skills. They're very advanced technologically, but sometimes they lack some of the basic skills on just how to communicate personally in an interview or with a customer or a client, or to set a schedule. And I think career and technical education is very fundamental to bringing and allowing some of that training to happen. I've been involved with our FFA program almost since it was chartered here, serving as an advisory role on the advisory committee for that, and opportunities to interact. That affords me opportunities to interact with those kids, and also to see them out serving in the community. And I think that those experiences, the experiences offered through that part of our curriculum, I think are increasingly important and something I'll be very committed to.
I'm still not overly comfortable up here. No, the college and career standards, I guess, I won't touch the budget with a 10-foot pole, because regardless, we're going to have to work with what we've got, and I believe we have the people in place that can do that. I have seen people come in and apply for positions that honestly they aren't prepared for. And I would love to have more than labor-ready positions and kids when they come in. I look at the way the standards go, and I believe in standards. We have to have something that the kids can achieve. I, as a contractor, have to meet certain code standards. But it doesn't mean that we can't go above and beyond that to provide a project of excellence for that specific project owner. And I believe our kids are the same way. Each kid is individual, and they're not geared to thinking the same way. So we have to be able to teach them where they're at. If it's a group of 5, it's a group of 3, whatever that may be. If they're already above that standard, don't just limit them. Let's move up above and beyond. And as far as the college and career standards go, my understanding, and I'll have to get into it a little bit more to understand, is that some of the pathways that we're on now, if a kid wants to be a civil engineer, we don't really allow them the time and effort into the different programs, be it drafting and design and even construction. You know, we're more geared towards the college pathway. And I'm somewhat concerned that we're missing the boat on being able to catch a student and expand their knowledge base to be able to give them the opportunities that we all desire for our kids.
Okay, thank you. The next question is a 1-minute question. What are 2 or 3 needs that are priorities for our school, and why do you see those as needs? Ryan, I think you're first.
So you're asking 2 or 3 priorities and why we need them.
Yes. Why do you see them as needs?
Why do I see that we need them? First of all, I think I'll start with, I think a big priority to me is safety of children in the school. Not saying that our children aren't safe today. I'm just saying there's probably some issues and some things that we could do that could better the safety and move us forward in that direction. Another issue is, I'll touch the subject real lightly, is some capital improvements that need to be done here. I'm not saying what came across to us this last time was the right standard, but definitely some capital improvements need to happen, and need to happen quickly, in my opinion, such as the track, the parking lot, maybe some infrastructure here in the school. But we definitely have to move forward on some of those things.
Dwight?
Now, when you say needs for the school, are you talking physical needs or just?
You pick.
Okay.
Priorities.
Okay. I wanted to make sure that.
Okay.
From a priority standpoint, I think probably one of the needs for the school is that we come back together as a community and that we repair some of the things that caused us to get where we are now. The other thing I think that is a need or maybe a concern that we need to make sure we do is keep a great education for people to continue to want to move out here. From a facility standpoint, when we look at we have some rooms that don't have proper ventilation that have been there some time. That needs to be corrected. We need to go ahead and move through the doors that we should have done a long time ago from safety and security and the track. Other infrastructure needs are obviously there. Once I get on the board, we'll be able to prioritize those and move forward with the projects that we need to.
Okay, Linda?
I also feel that we need to make capital improvements. The track does need attention, as we all know. And you can see wear and tear throughout the building when you do go through it. And if we don't keep up the appearance of the building, then that's not going to want other people to come out here and go to school here. They'll think that we're also lacking on our education. Appearances do make a big difference.
Kenny?
2 or 3 priorities. First, right now, I think probably our largest priority is hiring the right superintendent to lead our district. We had a guy that's pretty strong, but we need someone that is going to be able to lead us into the future and be able to work with the budget that we're given. We also need to be able to communicate openly with the patrons. That's going to be a two-way street. We can offer the information as a board, but we'd also ask the patrons to ask for the information so they can come and be able to get it in one way or another. Also, I will hit on the facilities, and we do need to make some improvements in the facilities in one way or another. Capital outlay may not be able to handle everything that needs to be done. There are some large projects. I think we've already alluded to the track, parking lot, some security issues. So those are probably my 3.
Okay, Justin?
3 things I would say. Number 1 is leadership. And I say leadership with all, please understand me, I say leadership with all due respect to the current school board administration. And probably the answer leadership will be the same answer when I'm on the board and perhaps in Carol's spot. So please understand that. I think there's always need and priority for leadership. And specifically, I think creating a culture and being committed, very committed to that, to create a culture of communication, trust, and unity among our staff, among the board, and among our community. Number 2, an unwavering commitment to excellence, with standards changing all the time, and we're going through a really complicated transition with changing standards. I think it's very tempting to settle for mediocrity, and as long as we're meeting the standards, that's good enough, but I think we have to be unwavering in our commitment to excellence and challenging the high-achieving students. Number 3, prioritize list of targeted capital improvements would be number 3.
The 3 that I had written down are leadership, obviously, and I say that only because of the new superintendent. It's incumbent upon us to make sure that we provide the best possible leader we can. I believe we have a perception problem, and I believe the board and the school and the superintendent are going to have to really work with the community to be able to change the perception that we are divided. I believe, and I know this board and everybody in this room wants the best for our kids. And that's, I think we need to, I heard it coined the other day, and I'm a big believer in this phrase, but we need to provide a simply excellent school, SES. That's it. And also, I'm very comfortable with upgrades and infrastructure, so I do know that we have some infrastructure issues, and I know that we need to deal with them for our teachers as well as our students, and that needs to be a priority.
Thank you. Jerry?
Facilities is number one to me. I think that we have some real issues that we need to work with community to get input, to prioritize what we do with limited funds available, such as the track, the parking lot, and upgrading the facilities. Next would be the physical part, being able to budget for upcoming needs. And I mentioned earlier that I had concerns about the money that would be coming in from the state if and when, and that it would be a real problem and trying to plan, but you still have to plan. And of course, working with the community to communicate what's going on. I think that's going to be something that will have to really be worked on extensively.
Okay, thank you. Lori, we're ready for questions from the audience. Okay. So Lori, did you just give me one that represents different questions, or how did you do this?
We pulled out ones that maybe had already been touched on and then put them in, unless we were individual.
Okay. I don't know if we're going to have time for all these, but here we go. You don't have to take a whole minute. These are 1 minute answers. So if you just have like a 1 sentence answer, don't short yourself, but it's a sec. First one, we have a lack of resources for preschool for many of our students. How do you feel about the prospect of having a pre-K program at Southeast of Saline, and how would you fund it? Dwight, I believe you're first.
Well, I think that when we ask about how we front a pre-K, it's probably not incumbent on our board candidates yet to understand how we would fund those particular pre-K, because we know we have a finite number, amount of money. If we can figure out a way to fit it within the budgets, then maybe we can do some pre-K work. That's an extremely tough question for anyone to answer when we know that our funding level is here. We can't take away from something else. So whether we can look through grants or whether we can look anywhere we can to find money we're not using, if we can fund it, then yes. The second question is do we have the physical property to do that? The answer might be now that we don't, but if we move forward and the community says in a bond that we need it, then yes, we should.
I think it would be a good idea to have a pre-K program in the school. I would be concerned about the funding, like everyone else has said. The budgets are at a standstill, and we kind of have to use those resources for the current K through 12 kids. But I think that if we're able to maybe work something with, I know there's a preschool in Assyria. Who says that you can't work something out with them and make it a corresponding project? And maybe some of the funding could be privately.
Kenny?
A pre-K program in early childhood development, that's probably, and Dwight's right, that's a difficult question for the candidate sitting up here to probably answer. Where would the funding come from that? Right now we're discussing how will we just fund next year with our school the way it is. Pre-K program though, there's more and more studies that show the importance of that, and more studies that show those kids need to come in prepared when they get to kindergarten. So I'm not going to discount anything about that question. That's very important, and that's something that should be studied out here. And I'll give Linda credit, the ASARIA program is very good over there. So is there a way to collaborate with other outside programs? I don't even know if that's legal. So as a candidate, I can't answer the legal question there.
Yeah, so we have a 4-year-old and a 6-year-old, as I mentioned, and so understand the importance of preschool and pre-K education, childhood development. I think we've got a pretty effective Parents as Teachers program implemented here, and excellent personnel carrying that out effectively, making a difference in that. For me, I think it'd be very difficult today for me to sit here and think it's realistic that we'll be able to move forward with a pre-K program in-house. I think that'll be an exceptional challenge. I'm not going to say it's impossible, but I would look to some guidance from administrators and on that as a board member. But probably my initial response would be to continue to work with our Parents as Teachers program. And then also I really appreciate the comments on how can we partner with existing early childhood programs that's going on in our community. And if we need more of that, how can we encourage that from this level?
No, Brandon.
I'll be, I guess my thought on pre-K is the same as most everybody here. I believe in pre-K. I believe you should learn as much as you can throughout your lifetime, whether that's before you go to school or after you go to school. I learn something new every day. I've learned several things sitting here at this table. And I guess I don't have all the answers to that. If it were functional and the administration came and said, hey, we believe we've got a plan and we believe we have a way to fund it, let's sit down as a board, let's get our heads around it and find out if it's even feasible. And I think I would support that.
I did not see that in our immediate future. We've worked with the people from Syria as far as the preschool program. Our legislature recently pulled the funding for Parents as Teachers and then reinstated it. So I did not hold out much hope for funding for that. Space is an issue, interest is an issue, and the location is an issue. It is hard for people to get children here, drop them off, pick them back up, and so I see a lot of challenges. I very much believe in preschool. It's very important, but I think it'll be a real challenge to put into effect here in the immediate future.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're all in agreement up here. Some of the notes I wrote down, I think it would be a great idea if we could do it. We had good experience with our 2 daughters with the ASARIA organization. We also went through Parents with Teachers, had a great experience with that as well. So I think we have some good resources that are readily available to us at the moment. I mean, if time does arise where we're able to find a place to do it here locally or be able to fund it, you know, it'd be a great idea. But as Jerry said, you know, logistically it could be a challenge, and you know, as far as the state getting involved, that could be a challenge as well.
Okay, thank you. Next question. We have multiple entrances to the building, do not practice lockdown drills, and teachers must leave their room to lock their doors. What would you do to plan to improve safety and security for our staff and students? Linda, you're first.
Well, I believe that, one, the teachers should be able to lock the doors from the inside, not the outside. And I think that is a big issue that needs to be resolved. As far as the various entrances, I would think that those outer doors would all be locked and maybe on some kind of a system where an alarm sounds in the main office whenever that someone goes out or tries to come in those doors. But I think that's a very important issue and something that we really need to be concerned about in our community.
Security is a huge issue out here. There are multiple entrances. key card will get you into a lot of them. There are some, though, where maybe our kids need to have another discussion about propping doors. If you go to the locker room doors, you can see they're propped a lot, whether they should be or not, and that's not. The locking mechanisms on the teachers' doors do need to be replaced, and that's probably part of a future security concern. They're probably due when we work on the security, there needs to be, and it's possible to set it up to where the office can see what doors are open. That needs to be a lighted panel of some sort so we can see that. Out here, the response time is not very good. We do have a resource officer, but that's one person in a large building. So maybe there need to be more drills and discussions with the kids and with the teachers about security out here. And maybe sometimes we're in our little bubble and we don't believe that anything could happen to us.
Well, frankly, you know, kids have to feel safe in order to learn. That's without question. And I think our kids do feel, I mean, I may be incorrect, but I believe our kids feel safe, but we can't take our eye off that ball, right? And so I think, yeah, there's opportunities for improvement. I know the current board has some folks, and the administration has been meeting with first responders and experts in safety and security. So I will pay very much attention to what comes out of those meetings and any recommendations that may come from the experts in that, from that standpoint. On the other hand, we also, I think, you can only do so much to prevent, if somebody's gonna do something unthinkable, we can only do so much to prevent that. And, you know, I think we have to balance that with common sense and what's practical as well. And don't misunderstand me that I don't want to downplay the importance of safety, but I think it's a very fine balance, and it's a difficult balance, but that's important.
Well, I don't know the current school safety plan. I do know that there are things that you can do and some relatively inexpensive fixes, such as door closer stops and items that would prevent any entry into the classroom that could be bought relatively inexpensively. Hardware is a very expensive item to buy, and when you start buying it, the question then becomes, am I buying it when I'm actually going to make changes throughout the whole facility that may, you know, render what we purchase obsolete? We obviously don't want to do that, so we'll need to come up with some ideas on that. But it could be as easy as moving the main, I guess, the office area without the principals and whatnot right up front, to where the ladies see everybody coming in more so than a camera, and are able to do more verification. And we have cameras at the other doors that they could buzz people in. I just don't have the answers to that right now, but obviously I'd be willing to look into each and everything that we could to keep our kids and teachers and faculty safe.
First of all, we do have an automatic lockdown system. Shortly after it was installed, we had a situation, a real world situation, where we had to take and put that into force, lock the school down, and it did work. And so the system we have does work. We do lock the doors during the day. People have to be rung in the front door. And as far as future, the security system or upgrades were in the bond. That did not fly, so if and when there's another bond referendum, I'm sure that will be an integral part of it. But again, we're doing the best we can with what we have, and so far it has worked well for us. Thank you.
Yeah, and I think Jerry just nailed it on the head there. I think the current board and administration is doing the best they can with what they have right now. You know, I think there's immediate things that need to be changed, such as the doors that need to be locked from the inside. You know, it's going to take first responders to get out here a little bit longer, as we all know. And so we got to do our part to make sure what we can do to limit any scenarios that may happen. If there was one thing that I really don't like, if I was to pick on something, is even though that we do have to ring the door to get inside here, I don't like how we have to walk through to get to the central office. That's one of my worries, and I know that was an issue in the bond. So hopefully something can get resolved in that nature.
Right.
Of course, we do have a concern of multiple entrances. And moving of the administration forward does sound like a very good idea for safety. I think that maybe we need to look also over towards the high school entrance also. My concern is and like Justin was talking, if someone's going to do us harm, they're probably going to do it when our doors are open in that half hour to an hour, and that makes me very, very concerned. So safety and security with the door latches that I feel should have already been put in, and also probably need to go to our staff and see if some are willing to take even more training to help us if we have a crisis situation, because if staff and administration can help us greatly if we have that crisis. So I believe more training along with improved security on the doors, possibility of moving the administration forward and securing the high school entrance.
Okay, thank you. Many of the out-of-district students were villainized as a major problem with our school. Yet the approximately $850,000 they bring in helps to provide operating funds for a number of activities, such as FFA and FCCLA and other classes that we are able to provide that we otherwise would not. Are you, as a candidate for the Board of Education, okay with the removal of these programs in lieu of the removal of these students? Kenny?
I think at the end of your question, they were asking if we want to get rid of the out-of-district students.
It's either, well, let me
Yeah,
clarify.
read it one more time, Carol, is that?
Yes. The money brought in by out-of-district students helps provide operating funds for a number of activities such as FFA and FCCLA, in addition to other classes we're able to provide. Are you, as a candidate, okay with the removal of the programs or in lieu of the removal of the students?
First off, I'd like to say I am not comfortable with losing those programs. In a student's life, it's more than just academics. There are those other programs, the FFA, the FCCLA, that are important to them and making them a well-rounded student. Our district is in a position, I think some of the other districts are enviable of us. We're able to maintain a constant student population out here by using those out-of-district students. But we're not in a position where we want to ask the patrons to fund extra square footage just to bring in more out-of-district. We should be at capacity. That'll make us more efficient, also help fund things that our in-district students need themselves.
Okay.
Yeah, out-of-district students really became a hot button, I think, which is unfortunate in some regards. You know, I think it's an important conversation, there's a very important conversation given the discussion around the bond issue, because we're adding extra capacity to school. So I think it's very important to understand and monitor the population dynamics within the district, and then also the population dynamics that's happening within the building, and making sure that we're balancing those appropriately. I'm not for overfilling our building with out-of-district students. I understand that they do bring in funds, and those funds are obviously very important. But if we begin to overfill our building and have to lower our standards of the teacher-to-student ratio, or make it more difficult for our teachers to excel in the classroom at their job of teaching our students, and I think that's the wrong direction. So out-of-district students, I think, and families bring a tremendous amount of input and value to our school, and I will continue to encourage them to come to our school and attend them, and keep our education quality so we have that demand.
Brandon?
Well, it's very personal to me because we originally, when we came to town, we were out-of-district students and parents, and we spent 6 years looking within the district to finally find a home or land to purchase to be able to build. And I believe that it's incumbent upon our administration to be able to say, hey, this is the proper class ratio for the teachers to be able to teach well in, and the students to be able to learn well in. And I'm all about reducing the size in order to teach the kids and for the teachers to be able to do their very best. But I do not want to, in any way, shape, or form, limit the I shouldn't say the flood, but be responsible with the out-of-district students to where it's a big benefit to our school, which I believe it is at this point.
Sure.
Being on the board, people know where I stand on that. We're very fortunate to have the quality of school and the quality of student body that people are trying to get their students into the school and to be with the student body that we have. We've been fortunate enough to be able to keep the enrollment of the school at around 700 plus students and a 4A status. It is something that if we start or would stop taking students, it would cause financial problems. It would cut programs, and I absolutely do not want to lose nationally ranked and nationally visible vocational programs because of mismanagement.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not comfortable losing those programs either. My belief is as long as the district can keep the student population flat, it becomes advantageous to us as far as budgeting purposes are concerned. And if that means bringing in 2 kids out of district because we lose 2 kids in district to keep that student population flat, I think it's very advantageous to do that. Living so close to, pick on Salina, living so close to Salina, I view this as a blessing and a curse. One of us mentioned that, other school districts may be envious of us because we have the ability to cherry pick out of district enrollment. There's a large waiting list. We have several conditions to be met to attend here if you're out of district, and I think we've done a great job monitoring that. Does that mean I'm for growing the student population? I don't know. I'm not. I'm for keeping it level where we're at today and also not getting rid of those programs.
I think the theme that you're saying here is that no one at this table is willing to reduce the population of southeast of Salina or get rid of out-of-district students, as someone had said. These are great families that are making a great effort to come out to school because education is very important to them. I think it's also responsible, though, for the taxpayers that we try to encourage as many as possible to move into district and become patrons. I'd like to see us have them for longer than just the time that their kid is in school. I want them to be a lifelong patron, and I want to see them at ball games with no one that is in their immediate family because they're a patron and they support this district. They help fill our churches, our schools, and all those things. So as many as we can to get to help them move out here, and I think there's some development we can help with in this county to bring more families out here and get more adequate housing. That's what we need to do.
Linda.
Well, in January, I was at the Capitol, and I was really proud when I seen our students from one of those programs come through. And I mean, it was great representation for us, and they were going around meeting all of the representatives and talking to them. The same thing that I was doing that day. So I could not see getting rid of those programs at all. And I know that it is important to keep out of school, out of district kids coming to our school. You do have to have a certain ratio there to make sure that everything stays in proportion.
Okay. One last question before we go into closing statements. What does it mean that 3 of you have look-alike campaign signs placed together around the district? Justin, you're first.
Sure. So, yeah, that's an appropriate question, right? Probably because I'm not good enough at coming up with a sign myself, so I had some help and offered to participate in that process, because that's something I didn't, just not very good at. But also, I think that represents that, obviously Dwight and Brandon and I are the three candidates that have that shared design. And I think as we've discussed our motivation for being on the school board and some of the issues we feel are as important, I think we found a lot of consensus there, a lot of similar values. And I feel pretty comfortable sharing with the public that I support those two folks as far as working together to find consensus and find common practical solutions to a lot of the challenging things that our district is facing.
Well, and I agree, being one of those on the signs, I was fortunate enough not to have to do any design work or anything else to be able to do that. And honestly, when I first signed up to run for school board, my intent was not to do any campaigning at all. But I heard some value to that, and I decided to go ahead and accept that gracious prospect of helping with the signs.
I think it's an indicator if the three get on the board that they'll be willing to share resources to conserve the district budget, so I don't have a problem with it.
No, I mean, I don't have a problem with it either. I personally chose not to do signs or a postcard. Personally, I don't see too much value in it, to be honest with you. But that doesn't mean what I believe isn't right. So I commend those three working together and coming up with a strategy, and so they have the best interest of the school district in mind, I'm sure.
Well, one of the poorest things to do is be third in line, because then you have to take responsibility for ordering the signs. So I did order the signs. The signs were twofold. We felt this was such an important election and we needed to bring the community back together that we wanted to make sure as many people would vote as possible, and that's why on the bottom of the signs it gives the date of the election. Obviously, there's also some unity in the style of the sign. We did that because we do agree on many things. That doesn't mean that 50% of the time or 80% of the time that we're going to agree, and then the other 30 to 20, whatever it figures out, we're going to disagree. We're all individuals, and there may be someone on the board, say Kenny or Linda, are successful that I agree with, and I don't agree with them. We're still individuals, but we do have a common theme that the students at Southeast of Saline are the most important thing we can do. And if we start there, then that's the best. Anyway.
Linda?
I don't have a problem with the signs. To me, it shows that they think that's very important to them. And they're looking at the best interest of the community, the children, and the patrons.
Okay, Kenny?
I'm going to have to claim ignorance. I haven't seen their signs. I'm disturbed I wasn't called. But, no, I have no problem with their signs.
Okay. All right. Closing statements. 2 minutes, and we have just the right amount of time. And since I started last with you, Justin, we'll let you in. So that means, Brandon, you go first.
Well, first of all, I'd like to thank the board and everyone who came today, including our administrators. I have the utmost faith that in the end, everything that we do is for the kids of Southeast of Saline. And I'd like to ask everyone to go and vote. Tell somebody else to go and vote. It doesn't have to be for me. It doesn't have to be for Jerry or Ryan. Vote for the person that you feel will represent you the best and the district the best. Provide the district with the best opportunity to go forward and cast a vision and a master plan that will work. Grand ideas are great and lofty goals, but we have to keep in mind that there are budgets that we have to live with as well. So we have to do our due diligence And all I can say is please vote, and vote for the person whom you feel will represent you and the school best. Thank you.
On the opening statement, I gave my educational background. I am retired, which I mentioned that gives me lots of time to spend in keeping up with the new things coming down as far as education. I also substitute several days a week on the average at the middle school in Salina in all areas, and I can tell you, walking into a classroom with 30 sixth graders is a challenge some days, and being a sub nowhere is the same as being a teacher. So that gives me an idea of what's going on in the classroom, what's going on in the educational community. I also have the opportunity to volunteer a lot here at the school, as many as 3 days a week, coming down and working with elementary students and tutoring them. I've run hundreds of booklets and thousands of copies for the teachers. And I feel, again, this is a total effort. We're working together to help the students. And there's nothing better to me than the look on a student's face when they finally get it. So looking forward to your vote, and thank you for a chance to work for the district, with the district. And I also want to commend my fellow board members now, one of the most professional groups of people that I've ever worked with. Thank you.
Again, I'd like to appreciate Carol moderating today, and appreciate you all for coming out. You know, a handful of times I was asked, you know, why on earth do you want to be on a school board with, you know, with all that's happening right now? You know, it's, you know, I've had folks even say it's a thankless job, and you know, Carol even kind of admitted to some of the issues that could arise as being a school board member earlier at the beginning of this. And after discussion with my wife and kids, my family and I just came up with the acknowledge that the district has given us so much. Both of us have been through this. All of our siblings have been through Southeast of Saline. We're very proud of where we came from, and we're very proud that we're still here. And you know, being a school board member, you are responsible for establishing and vision the school, establishing the vision of the district. And you know, I want to be a part of that. I want to be part of my kids' education, as well as all your kids' educations, grandkids. And you know, I just look forward to the challenge, and I just really encourage you all to vote. You know, there's no greater right than your right to vote, and I really would encourage you to do that, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
I too would like to thank everyone. I'm in a unique position. Everything is fresh in my mind. My last daughter has just graduated here at Southeast of Saline. I see what has made a difference in her life. And I'd like to share something. When I started to run, and I'm going to read this to you, it came out of this. It's called Vision. As a school board member, you will have a central role in defining your district's vision, but yours should not be the only viewpoint considered. Teachers, administrators, community members, and students are more likely to support your board's vision if they feel they have played a part in developing it. The process of creating vision involves making choices, not only about where the district is headed, but also about how it got there. For this reason, establishing a vision may be the most difficult responsibility any school board member faces. But it is also perhaps the most important. Specific responsibilities for school board members include keeping students as a focus of work of the schools, adopting a shared vision based on community and beliefs to guide local education, and demonstrating a strong commitment to shared vision and mission by using them to guide decision making and communicating them to others. That's what a good school board member does. And after I read that in the pamphlet, I knew that I wanted to be a part of this place we call Southeast of Saline. So that's why I'm running. It is a thankless job, but it has also been said it is one of the most rewarding you will ever do.
Linda?
I'd like to thank everybody for coming out today too. I know it's a beautiful day, and you'd rather probably be out there. I feel that you just have to go out and vote. It doesn't matter who you vote for, but you have to get out there and vote. If we don't become involved as a community and fighting for our kids, then that's when you lose grounds, and that's when small towns, small areas start falling apart and they become in trouble. So I just encourage everyone to go out and vote.
I too want to say thank you, Carol, for moderating, and thank you everyone for coming and listening today. I want to say that I'm sitting here because I love working with the kids, and I love being part of the Southeast Saline family. Now, that being said, in the last 12 to 18 months, there's some of you sitting out there that have disagreed with me on some things, but I feel confident in saying that we're still friends, and we can still talk. Nobody has been shut off when they've come to talk to me. So I feel confident in listening to everyone, and I feel confident that most of you will listen to me too. Now, whoever's elected to the board is going to have a difficult time. They're going to have to navigate the district through some tough times coming up with funding and with some facility needs. But I believe I can be a positive influence for the board and for the district and for the community. So thank you all for coming, and thank you for listening to me.
And Justin?
Everybody's had really good comments, and I appreciate those. Carol, thank you for your time that you've prepared and put into this. I'd be hard-pressed to be able to think of anyone that's more passionate about public education than Carol. She has spent a lot, like as she mentioned, countless hours for the children in our community, for my children and your children. And so thank you for that, Carol. So many good comments. Brandon's comments about putting the students first really resonates with me, and I'm certain with each one of you. That's the first thing, the first commitment I talked about in my opening comments. Number two is listening and maintaining a sense of humility, being available for your input, providing you, if not the answers, then a source for you to find those answers. And lastly, just working hard to seek out practical, common sense solutions. Kenny's comments are right on target. It's going to be a very challenging time. There's change happening in standards and funding. Every week we're looking at a new set of challenges, and the ball game has changed from what's happening in Topeka to the national level. And those are things that are outside of the Board of Education's control. So our job is to take what we're given, the framework that we have to operate within, and come up with the best solutions for our kids and our faculty, our staff, and our community. And that's what I'm committed to try to do. And there's not probably a better place to invest time than in the next generation. And so whatever I can humbly offer as in a role and time and service to that, I'm pleased to do it.
Southeast of Saline has a wonderful reputation in the whole state of Kansas for giving an excellent education and being an excellent school. Our school and our school board are used as examples of excellence all over the state of Kansas. We were reminded of that again last night? By the Kansas Association of School Boards team that was here helping us to identify who our candidates will be. There's a long tradition also of great school boards at Southeast of Saline. People have made wise decisions over the years. And so I tell you that you can be another person, another part of another school board that provides excellence for this community. I will say one thing. There should be no teams on the school board. When you go in there, you are an individual. There should be 7 individuals going in and one decision coming out that everyone supports. Sometimes it's almost miraculous, the way that has happened with our current school board. Becky and I are often on opposite ends of the spectrum. But because we respect one another and listen to one another, we are able to move toward the center till we find a solution that works for all of us. You're not going to get your way all the time, and you can't have sour grapes about that. So, once you leave the board meeting, you come out with one voice. As we've talked around the sides of and a little bit in, there's some brokenness in our school board, in our district, and whoever's elected needs to lead the charge. And if that means saying, I'm sorry, if that means saying, I misunderstood you, if that means saying, can we try to work together because we all believe in this district and all of these kids, then I encourage you to do that. By the time you finish your term on the school board, you will have invested hundreds, if not thousands, of hours. I've been on the school board for 10 years, and like Justin said, there's no better investment than investing in your kids. Thank you, candidates, for the courage that you've displayed by running for office and being willing to come today and share. Thank you, members of the community, for coming and listening to the candidates. That's a very valuable thing when you can get people together so that they can hear your beliefs. I thank you for your nice comments about me. I've been honored to serve on the school board. And it's really been one of the most rewarding experiences of my life. So, patrons, if you will sit tight for a minute, I will ask the candidates to leave first so that they can be out in the hallway and you can ask them questions individually. But first, I would like to thank them all with a round of applause.